In this video, we are going to talk about how to edit points in ArcMap, and the data we'll be using is the station data for the Hawaii Rainfall Atlas, and that's what's shown here. I've already brought it up into ArcMap. And so we can see we got station mean data, and if we just do a right click on here, and make this a more reasonable size so we can see what we're looking at. We've got data for these different rainfall stations. And bear with me. Let's just bring this over. And what we can see are all sorts of interesting things about the names of the different guys. And if I highlight a few of these stations here, we can see they correspond to these stations down here, right? So Helia is, one of these guys down here, and so on. So each of these rows corresponds to a station, and we've got other information about their position information, right? We've got, I'm just going to clear these guys out. We've got latitude, longitude information, and then we've also got information about when the observations started and when they stopped. And then we have things like the average rainfall in inches. That's what this IN stands for January, for February, and so on. We're mostly interested in annual averages, right? Annual averages. And so I've done a sort on this data so we can see that we've got a problem here. There's a lot of these guys with a negative 99. This is not real data. Negative 9999 just means that the data is missing or corrupt, or there's some kind of a problem with those particular stations. So if you see a negative 999 there, you know that there's some issues here. But for example, this guy right here for this particular station, so this has an every year on average, based on the previous data that we've got, every year this station, wherever it is, and we can see where the station is, it is, where is that station? Where is it hiding? It is probably in Oahu someplace. Let's go back. Let's zoom to selected. Let me see where this thing is. Zoom to. Yeah, we just zoomed to it. Ah, Kauai. Those turkeys in Kauai. So that's where that particular station is, and every year it has an average annual rainfall of 24.48 inches. Fantastic. The data also is shown in millimeters. That's what millimeter stands for. And then we've got this SD, which is standard deviation, right? So we've got annual standard deviation for this guy's 0.44 inches. You can see that for millimeters and so on. So that's kind of how the data is laid out. And what you guys are going to be asked to do is to work with data. You can just pick one particular island if you're interested in. For the purposes of this exercise, I think I'll want you guys to do Big Island, so I'm going to maybe I'll focus on Kauai, for example. And so we can isolate out only the Kauai points, right? Because right now we've got points for all different islands. And let's say I just want to work on one particular island. I just want to do Oahu. I just want to do Maui. I just want to do Kauai. And so one way I can just isolate out the Kauai points is to, first of all, select the points. I just use this icon, and I selected them, and now these guys turned blue, right? And in the data table, that turned blue as well. And then what I can do is I can create a new shapefile just from those selected points. And the way you do this is non-intuitive. The way you do this is you would right-click on the name over here, and you would say Data, Export Data. You're going to export just the selected features. It will give you some kind of a default folder here. You'll probably want to, you don't want it in some crazy C temp directory. You want to put it in a place where you have good control, which is probably be your flash drive. Okay, it'll be a different place on mine, so I'm just navigating to this location, right, where I'm doing some work here, and then I'm gonna it'll be a shapefile, and I'm gonna call this Kauai. I've probably misspelled that, my apologies, but that's my spelling of Kauai. Alright, and then we're gonna say save and OK. Do you want to add it? Yes, I want to add it. And look, if I look at this one, I only have this data, right? If I zoom to the whole layer, and this is turning blue because these stations in the original were still selected, I can unselect them. And so I've got all of it, and now I just have the Kauai data. That's very exciting. So I can turn these guys off because I'm just focusing on Kauai. And now if I look here, and I do a right click on that guy and open attribute table, I have much fewer stations. I have much fewer stations than I did before. And if I look at this annual average guy, I still have this issue with these 9999 guys, right? And I actually don't want to include those because of whatever math I do. If we think about what we're trying to get at, we're trying to think about this probability for this purposes of this exercise. These negative 999 guys are just going to screw me up, so I'm going to want to get rid of. I'm going to want to get rid of them. And there's multiple ways you can start to get rid of them. But one thing you could do is you could only highlight the ones that weren't 999 guys, just like we kind of highlighted only the ones for Kauai. So I'm going to close this guy. And we can, oh, so these are the ones which have good data associated with them. Again, I'll open the attribute table here. So the ones that I've selected, are they're good, right? Because they've got an annual average in inches that is not negative 999. We look at their standard deviation, hopefully that also is not. So okay, I've got real data here, so this is exciting. So just like I did before, I created just a quiet one. I'm going to now do the same thing, data, export data, the selected features, and I'm going to now call this guy, I'm going to call it K good. I'm just going to call it K good, and we're going to say save. You can name it whatever you like. Yes, do that. And now I unclick. Oh, look, perfect. I've just got these guys. And so now I've got data that I can work with. I've got they're from one island, great, and they've got reasonable data values here in places like the annual average, which I'm going to need to do my calculations for thinking about the probability.